Sometimes you just want to watch the fucking movie.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, yes. Welcome back to Is It Still Good? This is the show where we take our rose-colored glasses. We take them from Chicago to Paris to Dallas to where the hell am I now? And we leave them there.
Scranton.
We no longer have them. And so it's without those glasses that we have to be forced to look with the eyes that remain upon the culture of our youth. Today's a very special day as far as culture of our youth. We are two grown-up film students who hate growing up. We're +1 today, which is exciting. I'm Bear Kennedy in Chicago. Joining me as always,
Andrew Carter in Los Angeles. We have a very special guest today. Definitely a friend from our youth, if you want to call it that. College is a very youthful, immature time. But we have the lovely, the talented, the star, Michael Vlamis in the house.
What's up, guys? Hey, guys. Thank you. I thought you were going to say King, Andrew, but you didn't.
King Michael Vlamis.
I only say that because he says that all the time. Not
I refer to Vlamis as King. I like saying King. It's nice. But Vlamis, we all actually went to college together. Vlamis is a Chicago kid. Shire Die Pride. Bear lives in Chicago, so they have that connection.
Shire Die. I met Bear at orientation.
Yeah, before the real shit, like my parents in their old house had like a reception for people going to Chapman from Chicago. So that was like maybe 6 people because it's pretty fucking far away from Orange County. But that was, I think that was when
my parents did that too in Connecticut.
Did they? You get the fuck out of here.
I'm not even kidding. There was like 4 people, and I'll never forget. I forget 2 of them, but there was 2 others where one of these girls was a triplet, and she didn't come with her siblings or whatever, but all she wanted to hear about was the parties and the social life. Like, so she was like very like, it was a classic thing of like around her parents. She was like, oh, and the professors and the education. And the minute her parents walked away, she's like, so what's going on with the parties? Where are we fucking party? And then there was another kid whose family was friends with Brett Ratner, and he was a film student.
Sick.
So he's like, yeah, I know.
Great
so he was
guy.
like, yeah, great, fantastic guy.
Great work.
And he was like, I got to go to the set of Rush Hour 3. And
the
I was
best
like,
one.
oh, cool. And this was the summer of 2008, right after Indiana Jones 4 came out. And he's like, did you see it yet? And I was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I didn't really like dig it. What did you think? And he was like, well, I went opening day. I had my hat, my whip. And I'm not even kidding. This is like a 19-year-old. And I was like, oh, cool, man. Nice. And I was trying to be nice, but I was like, whoa, this guy's. And I saw him on campus like once or twice and like said hi, but that was it. It's funny that you did that at your house.
Then you ended up bullying him.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
You bullied him as
terrible.
an adult, you piece of shit. How dare
I still bully him. He lives on my block. He won't walk this way because of me.
Damn right.
Yeah, but we have Vlamis on the show because we are in the next episode of our Christmas movie and Christmas cocktail month, and we are discussing Home Alone. It's very applicable to have Michael because, as we said, Chicago kid. It's a Chicago Christmas classic. It's a Christmas classic. It's a comedy classic. It's a lot of classics. And we made certain themed cocktails to go along with it. So we're going to hold them up now. We're going to introduce what we're having. I made
it double because I didn't want to get up again when I finished. It's a little later in the day for me, so I'm going to start drinking.
Bear, are you having the Les Incompetents as well?
I am. Yep, I made it.
Yeah.
I used a larger glass, no ice. I cooled it down and then left the ice in the glass.
I shook mine up so it's cold. And this is vermouth, cognac, and Grand Marnier with a couple cranberries in there, frozen cranberries. I also, just in case, I haven't tasted this yet, but I did get a sparkling cranberry beverage from Trader Joe's that I might add. Should it need it? It might not. It looks pretty good.
I'm just drinking what I think the Wet Bandits were probably drinking before they started their journey, and that was probably just whiskey. So,
yeah, way to go. Just whiskey and lime. That's the way to go.
Yeah,
cheers to you guys. Cheers to you guys. Let's all have this. Let's see how this is.
Fire die. Oh yeah.
Oh, mine's strong.
That's wet.
Fuck.
It's wet.
I like that though. That's good.
Not bad. That's not bad.
It's not bad. I was expecting it to be like all bite and no taste, but it has a bite, but there's a nice taste to it.
It's good. I had a hell of a time getting cognac, which I do have on my bar usually, but I didn't. So I had to go to the grocery store because I live in the city. It was behind a fucking case. And it took like 10 minutes to get the liquor manager with the key to give me like half a fifth of Remy Martin.
Especially with
$22. Yeah, I know. I didn't want to be
be.
standing around there more than I had to. So that was a bad experience.
You've had some bad luck going to liquor stores lately.
Yeah, I'm getting shit on every liquor buying opportunity I have. So
Maybe you should stop drinking.
Absolutely not. That's out of the question. But we need to find some drinks based around things I already own because I keep having to acquire things. It's going poorly.
Yeah, that's totally fine though. I mean, we're gonna make it work. We
This is
get
good, though.
creative.
I like this. This is
good.
not bad.
What whiskey are you having, Lamb?
It's a Woodford Reserve.
Okay.
My manager gave me a Maker's Mark 46, and usually I'm drinking like red wine lately, but I drank that Maker's and I was like, oh, this is good. I'm gonna keep trying different whiskeys. Then I went to this like Eagle Rare, and now I'm on the Woodford Reserve, and so, I'm trying to feel out if I'm a full-blown whiskey guy and what the whiskey is. But Woodford Reserve is good.
Did
you get it in Santa Fe?
Oh yeah, I get it in Santa Fe. I like going to this specific checkout woman who watches the show. It makes me feel good. So
Nice.
I go up to her and she's always like, "Oh, I saw you on Instagram today," and I go, "Yes, you did. Yes, you did."
That's amazing.
Angel's Envy is a good compliment to that. And then it's going to be tough to get out where you are, but you might be able to have family send it to you. Koval makes a good bourbon and a good rye, and they make it 2 blocks from my house here.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
support
So
your
that's really
business.
local.
Yeah,
That's
good
great.
shit.
Chicago, I will definitely do that. I just hunted down my favorite Jardinier, Marconi's. They sell it at the World Market here in Santa Fe.
Nice. That's a
That's
huge get.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world market's huge. And for anybody listening that Vlamis just said she watches the show, if you don't know, Michael Vlamis is one of the stars of the CW's Roswell, New Mexico. He is a fan favorite, Michael Guerin, a bisexual alien in a lot of love triangles all the time. Beautiful story. And truly, and I'm not just saying this because he's an old friend and just a great friend, he really does give a fantastic performance on that show. He's lovable and raw and gritty and shirtless and goddamn, it's amazing. But do you want to? So you're in Santa Fe now? You're on location and you're in your place where you're staying there, right? Your house.
Oh yeah, my casita.
Nice.
Yeah.
Casita. So how's the shoot been going with COVID restrictions? What's changed from this season to the last? Because you're on season 3.
Yeah. I would say like almost everything's changed in a lot of ways. You guys both know being on set is so fun. There's such a community that's being built. It's these people kind of become your family, especially when you're doing a TV show and you're there for 7 months, right? Like we're here 7 months. So I would say the hardest part has been the lack of, there's still the social interactions, but like the actors cannot eat lunch with everyone. We can't even go near the catering. Because we have to be in specific bubbles, specific zones. In case there is a breakout in our zone, then it's only, it's captured in our zone and it doesn't spread elsewhere. So because of that, it's kind of weird because there's already that actor stigma that's like, actors don't want to eat with the crew, or like actors just go to their trailer, or in between scenes, they're like chilling in the corner or something.
Yeah,
and
like don't talk to them. They're in character. Yeah.
Yeah, like I do that stuff when it's like, if it's like a very deep scene, it's a big day, I got something that like, I don't know, getting a little method, whatever. But I like interacting with everybody. I like shooting the shit with Transpo and hearing the stories. You get great stories from all these people that have been working in New Mexico and have done so many movies out here with huge stars. And the nitty gritty, like the stuff that they have to tell is so cool. And now it's like when you're getting that story, you're 6 feet away at all times because we have COVID officers, compliant officers on set, making sure that we're 6 feet away. You got the mask on always. When they yell action, I can't tell you how many times they've yelled action. I've been so just in the zone that I forgot to take my mask off. And the scene starts and I've got my mask on. And they're like, cut fucking mask. And I'm like, we don't halfway through scenes. And I've been like working with someone and I've been like, dude, your mask, it's more of an annoyance than anything. But our show is doing a phenomenal job. We didn't have we were the longest lasting show from pre-production, which started in August, till like, I don't know, end of October to have a COVID test. We only had one positive test in that span.
Wow.
Since then, we've had a few more, but we've never had a shutdown. New Mexico is very strict too. You get 4 COVID tests in a week, you have to shut down for 2 weeks.
Right. So
that's why, Jay-Z shooting a Western out here right now. I think they had to deal with something like that.
Jay-Z shooting a Western.
Yeah, dude. All black Western. Lakeith Stanfield. It's
wow.
Sick. Yeah. It looks dope. So
I love you say Lakeith Stanfield, say no more. I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton more people in it too, but I'm really a big fan of Lakeith because he's like around our age, and I look up to him.
Yeah, he's great.
I hated being on set. I hated the social interactions, and that's why I ended up in post-production. So
you would love being on set.
Yeah, like born to be an engineer.
I love that Vlamis is like, you guys know you love being on set.
I was like,
nope.
nope.
Bear's just been silent for the last 2 minutes.
I know. I just did not enjoy it. But that's okay. Everyone has a different thing. It's a collaborative effort, so you need all.
Yeah, definitely. I've been on enough sets with Andrew. I know Andrew likes it.
That's true. Yeah, we have a good time on set. We've made some fun stuff. I feel like we have a very good just like a understanding, and there's not only a mutual respect, but there's like an adoration and an admiration where it's just like, yeah, you do your thing, man, and I respect it. And also, dude, I've always liked how you just said what you said about how you like talking to the crew and stuff, and you do actually practice what you preach. You do talk to everybody, and you always look them in the eye and shake your hand. So yeah, I imagine that is a little challenging right now to not be able to do that.
Yeah, some days, I'm not gonna lie, it's nice, because some days, like, I mean, dude, when I'm in like a good mood, everything's firing on all cylinders, I'm feeling great. I like talking to everybody. I like shooting. I like knowing the actual details about the dude who runs maintenance at the studio to the dude who runs our crafty.
Right.
But then some days, man, I don't want to fucking talk to anybody. And the mask kind of protects you from doing that.
Yeah.
The mask is almost like
a great way to look at it.
I could pretend I didn't see him. Like, I'm usually the person always saying hi, whatever, but like sometimes you just don't want to do that. You know, and I
also you're working on, I mean, obviously every set's different, and this could happen on a comedy too, but like you're working on a dramatic show, and there are scenes where you really have to bring it a lot. I mean, your character gets put through the ringer, and it's like,
same shit this season, man. Every season, my character,
right.
He grew up in the foster care system, was beaten, cigarettes burnt out on him. He's like the Matt Damon, Good Will Hunting, like, he's got a lot of issues, and it just gets worse and worse and worse every season, which is so.
Yeah, well, of course that's your contention. You're a first-year grad student. Next year you're going to be in here regurgitating Gordon Wood, talking about the pre-revolutionary utopia of. Do you have any thoughts of your own on this matter? Were you going to plagiarize the whole thing?
Oh, it's great, dude.
But yeah, no, that's. I'm glad to hear that everything's good and safe there.
Yeah.
We can probably talk a little bit more about Roswell later on, but it's time to get into Home Alone. So it must be said, 30 years old this year. November 16th, 1990 is when the movie came out. Obviously, Michael, you might have only been a few months old, if I'm not mistaken.
I was born in 1990. I'm 30 now. So yes, right. I was born in March.
I was born in August of 88, and Bear was around the same time. So we were
May.
two. So May, there you go. Yeah, so I obviously didn't remember when it came out, but I remember it on VHS vividly. But Michael, what was your earliest memory of seeing Home Alone? And obviously I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, was there a certain pride that you had with that film growing up because you're a Chicago kid and it takes place in Chicago?
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing about it. I think I was so young when I watched it. I think I was a John Hughes fan before realizing I was a John Hughes fan, right? Like just in recent years, I realized, that movie I loved, Adventures in Babysitting, was a John Hughes movie. Like I didn't even know, because back then growing up maybe it was different for you guys, right? But like,
no, I think I know what you're about to say. And every time you had like a movie day, if you went to high school in Chicago, it was probably Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh yes.
Like you couldn't escape like the Chicago movies when you had like a substitute teacher who's just phoning it in.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
That is 100% the one. And also it was like the Ferrari had like fallen off. I think it was Ferrari, right? The red one.
Yep.
It fell off the back of a house that was like down the street from my house in our suburb of Payless Park. And it was always Ferris Bueller's. But what the thing that I was really going to say was like, back then, like I didn't even movies, like we watched movies and we loved movies and we talked about them, but I never thought about them on like a bigger scale of like who directed them or who wrote them or anything like that. Right. So I didn't even realize that I was like obsessed with this Chicago filmmaker and was loving all of his films. So like looking back on it, Home Alone was something that I watched, and back then I don't even think it registered with me when I was like 8 years old and saw it, that, oh, that's so cool that it's in Chicago. You know, you're just like, oh, I live here. That's where it is. And then as you get older and you realize nobody in Chicago that I know in high school, especially, right, was doing film or doing anything like that or knew anybody doing film. So then in high school, I feel like is when it really started hitting me, like these movies shot in Chicago, man, that really means something. These Chicago filmmakers coming back here and doing that when all in your mind, it's always Los Angeles, Los Angeles. So it's like movies like that kind of, you know, even though not all the filmmakers are Chicagoans, it kind of like gives you hope that, oh, when I'm making movies with my friends in 5th grade or, you know, and through middle school, and, oh yeah, looking back on it, maybe Chicago people can be in the industry. Maybe we can do this, you know, in a weird way. But I will say rewatching it was like, it was as if I was watching it for the first time.
Well, when was the last time you watched it before this? Did you watch it recently for this show?
I watched it recently for the show.
Do you remember the last time you saw it before? Had it been a bit?
I think it was at a sleepover. I was like,
wow.
I was like 10, man.
Holy shit, you hadn't.
Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, wow. I texted Bash, you know Bash, Andrew, one of our buddies, and I was like,
shout out to Bash.
Yeah, what up, Bash Aaron? Great guy.
Great guy, great manager.
Great manager, writ large. Here we go. Dude, I texted him because I was like, watching it now after being in the industry for a little bit of time, I was like, dude, not only, okay, yeah, the movie's great, but it's just so well directed. Like something that I would have never paid attention to before, but it is phenomenally directed, even from the shots of like the camera being on the sled before it goes down and, you know, or like going into the treehouse. Like he put you in the seat of Kevin McAllister.
Yeah.
And he made you experience what he was experiencing. And as a kid, I never thought of any of those things. I just laughed and hoped that my friends would pass me a vanilla Coke and I could eat some hot Cheetos and wouldn't gain too much weight at the sleepovers.
And a lot of it shot from an angle where the camera's looking up at everyone else. Like a ton of it is. So yeah, I agree that shot with the sled on top of the stairs. I was watching it last night and I told my girlfriend, I spent my whole life trying to pull that off. That is all I've ever wanted out of a house, was to have a stairway that was lined up so I could fucking do that, and I've never gotten it. Yeah. But that puts you in his eyes. But almost everything else, like the pizza scene, anytime he's around someone else, you're looking up like you're in his little eyes, which is very interesting. He's very clearly the perspective character of the whole movie.
Yeah, and his interaction with, like his first interaction with Buzz, how he kind of like appears behind Buzz, and he's like, and he's like, Buzz, and then it cuts to the coverage from Kevin's point of view, and Buzz is just staring like, don't you know how to knock Flemwa just right down at him? I love how that scene's directed, but I also love the entire preceding few minutes of that steady cam just kind of upstairs as he's going into all the rooms and in and out and weaving in and out, because it really captures the manic energy of this family and how out of place he feels. Because if you notice, we're always following Kevin as he goes from one place to the other. And in every place he goes, someone is settled there. He's not settled. He's constantly moving around and he feels out of place. And it really shows throughout the whole film, especially in those first several minutes of like, oh my God, there's a reason why this kid is like, you know, I wish my family would, I want to live alone or whatever.
Oh, and I told my girlfriend too, like I'm the oldest. I have a younger sister and she has 2 younger sisters. We're both the oldest, but I'm the youngest cousin because both of my parents are like the youngest of 4. So I told her, like, I had this experience. Like I had to go do something else while everyone else watched an R-rated movie. Like I know what this was like to be that kid who just like, hey, can you just go busy yourself? Because get the fuck out of my way. And this time watching it, that first 10 minutes is like, oh my God, this is exactly what it's like when you're in any situation where everyone's fucking older than you. They all know what to do. And you're like, I have nowhere to be. I can't watch the movie everyone's already doing. And I guess I'll just bother my parents.
Yeah.
It's amazing how well that comes through.
My favorite line in that opening, rewatching it, was when I get married, I'm gonna live alone. Yes, dude. There's so many just simple jokes that are so good.
I love that. When I'm getting married, I'm gonna live alone.
It's so dumb. I love it. When I get married, I'm living alone.
What about you guys growing up? Do you actually remember, I remember like going to the video store and renting things. I don't really remember my experience of watching it that young. Do you guys remember it?
I owned the VHS. I never rented this one. I owned this VHS. Oh, wow. I owned the part 2 as well. So I don't remember watching it for the first time, but I remember watching the hell out of it. I remember specifically like rewinding parts of it. Like when Buzz tells him he wouldn't let him sleep in his room if you were crowing on my ass. And like, I knew that was a bad word. So I used to rewind that and play it all the time.
And die laughing.
Yes, I don't know if I still have the tape. Like my parents might have it in their house, but I probably wore the magnetic film off of that tape, just rewinding it and constantly playing it. It probably looks like shit if it's still around.
What was funny for me, like, to answer your question, Michael, it's like, I agree. Like I'm the same with Bear. I didn't actually own the VHS, but I do remember just like it in the like periphery. Like I remember renting. I don't necessarily remember like a specific night of renting it and watching it, but I just remember like having that videotape from the Academy Video Store and watching it. But a few things that were interesting upon watching it last night and then reading a little bit about it after. One thing I learned, that when it was released on home video in August of 91, it was one of the first movies, if not the first movie, I can't remember, to go straight to home video sales and not the rental market, because Fox knew they had a huge hit. And because of that, everyone bought it because it was more expensive it was more expensive to buy it than it was to rent it. So they were like, let's just make it only available to buy when we release it on home video. And because of that, it made like $150 million for them in those sales.
I can't remember if it was this one or part 2, but on the VHS that I owned, they had a American Airlines commercial and a Pepsi Girl commercial in front of it.
I remember.
I can't remember if it was both of them or if one was on.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure the Pepsi thing might have. Well,
he says easy on the Pepsi, and Rory Culkin gives a hard, like, I'm drinking a fucking Pepsi.
Oh,
it's the choice of a new generation.
But American Airlines, I feel like that could have been it. But I also think that American Airlines is a little bit more prominent in Home Alone 2 because there's a lot more air travel in it.
I agree.
But having said that, I remember the rental. I remember watching it, but one thing that didn't, and I wanted to ask you guys this, it didn't register until later for me, maybe even like high school even, that like, oh, this is a Christmas movie too. Because I always looked at Home Alone when I was younger, like, this is just a hilarious comedy. Every line feels like a classic, like Buzz, your girlfriend, woof, like Flemwad, growing on my ass, Les Incompetents, like so many things just feel like a classic 90s just wisecracking. And I also, one of my favorites is when he talks about Uncle Frank won't let me watch it. It's not even rated R. He's just being a jerk. Like I had a friend.
Well, if Uncle Frank says it's
like
not good, it's probably really bad.
Yeah.
Uncle Frank is maybe the best periphery character.
Oh,
I mean, it's easy to say Buzz, but Uncle Frank stealing the fucking silverware and shit from the airplane.
Oh yeah.
Constantly.
The free champagne, the fact that he won't pay for the pizza. He's like, he just picks it up and he just goes, my brother's place, he'll pay for it. Yeah, my brother's got it. What a fucking heel.
Love that guy.
Yeah, it's amazing. Vlamis, I can't believe you hadn't seen this in 20 years.
I can't either. That is hardcore. That is a long time to go. I mean, I love when that happens because it does legitimately feel like you're watching it for the first time again.
I watched it for the first time basically this week. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's amazing.
And it was so good, dude. It was so inspiring. I actually, so my writing partner, Andrew, Kyle Anderson, he is.
Shout out to Kyle.
Obsessed with Home Alone. He's from Michigan, Midwest. Like he's got blonde hair like Macaulay Culkin. He's obsessed with Home Alone and Home Alone 2.
Kyle's really funny too. He's a very funny guy.
Like, we've actually worked in like a lot of Home Alone references into some of our scripts. And it's the Michigan kid pushing that even more than me. But because he watched it, he was the guy who owned it bare and just watched it on.
Right.
Is there a reference you can talk about? Like, what kind of stuff are you proud of? Anything you've worked in? That was a Home Alone reference.
Definitely, we've got a thing where these kids are coming together. It's a script that it's an idea that Andrew and I actually originated together. And a long time ago, about these like kids who want to become mobsters, right?
Oh yeah,
They have the opportunity to become mobsters, and these like other high school kids find out that these girls are maybe in a mob and they want to join their mob, and their band is called the Sticky Bandits.
Nice.
Right? So, like,
nice.
That's one of the things.
That's good.
And then there's a scene where, you know, what I love is when Daniel Stern is like outside the back door and he's playing what is it? Angels Have Fallen or whatever.
Angels with Filthy Souls.
Angels with Filthy Souls.
Yeah. And he's playing Angels with Filthy Souls, and he's like, AC don't live here no more, or AC ain't in charge no more. And we actually basically stole that for one of our scripts. Where
that's amazing.
Sorry, that reading of that was really funny to me.
AC said 10%.
That was so much more hardcore than it is in the movie.
Dude, imagine being that actor. Imagine being that actor who plays Snakes. Like, that's what he's most well known for. Like, he was a character actor, and he did other things, but like the thing that he's most well known for is the movie within another movie.
Right.
Absolutely.
I don't know him from anything. Yeah,
nothing. Yeah.
No, AC ain't in charge no more. And yeah, so we have something like that where a dude's getting like interrogated, and then later they're like trying to extort the guy's dad for money, and they're like doing the playback, which is basically what Kevin McAllister's doing, the playback of a movie to scare someone. So we totally ripped that from Home Alone.
Well, that is one of his superpowers. Is being lethal with the rewind button, and he expands on that in part two, which we're going to do a separate episode on. But that, when I was watching it this time, and I was a little to very high this time when I was watching it, so I had some very weird thoughts. But that was one of them. I was like, holy shit, this kid is so good at just timing that rewind. Because I remember actively trying to do this trick at home with like movies, because I thought,
there's always like a 3-second delay, dude. It never works.
I know, it never does. You can't fucking get it right. It's even worse now with DVR. It's fucking impossible.
I know.
But even on tape, you could never get it. So it's amazing how good he is as part of his character, which I appreciated.
Speaking of watching this a little high, I watched it a little high last night, and by the end of the movie, my high did like kind of wear off. But for the first part of it, it was pretty strong. And a couple of things I noticed that I don't know if you would call them high thoughts or if just they were like, oh, I noticed them, but like the Cabbage Patch Doll product placement in the attic, because that was around the time that those things were just fucking huge. Number one. I don't know if I would call this one a high thought, because I've always felt this way, but it just really hit me even more last night. The power outage sequence has always felt like a horror movie.
It's like, very scary.
It's very scary. The Dutch angle, the low angle on the wreath. It's
fucking
terrifying.
Santa Claus. Oh my God.
The Santa Claus face. Yeah. But here's the other thing. And I had read a little bit before the movie. I read a little bit about it before I watched it. And it kind of dawned on me about like halfway through. So I paused it and wrote this down. And by the way, so Old Man Marley, Chris Columbus, the director, he did an uncredited rewrite of the script, and he added Old Man Marley.
I saw that as well, the South Bend Shovel Center.
Right, yeah. He added that whole character, which is, I think is a great move. I love that scene in the church. But anyway, so what I wrote is this. It's amazing the gap between doing Home Alone and not doing Home Alone that the film and its legacy created for people that like worked on it or didn't work on it. So for example, John Hughes originally wanted a guy named Patrick Reed Johnson to direct it, but Patrick Reed Johnson couldn't do it because he was directing a movie called Spaced Invaders, which only made $15 million. And Patrick Reed Johnson now his most successful movie was a movie called Dragonheart. So at least he got to work with Sean Connery.
I've seen Dragonheart. I remember seeing that on VHS on Christmas one year.
Yeah.
I remember that movie.
I don't remember being good, but I remember it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well.
And now he's a professor at the North Carolina School of the Arts. And he also directed Baby's Day Out, which I loved as a kid.
Oh, amazing.
But like
those, as a kid.
Yeah, I loved it too.
But crazy, get out of here.
But a lot of those movies weren't very successful. So it's like it makes you think, God, imagine what if he had gotten to direct it? It's like, what would his life have been different than it is now? And so then when John Hughes finally got to Chris Columbus, he was like, here, I have 2 scripts for you. One of them was Home Alone, and the other one is called Reach the Rock, which I looked up. Reach the Rock actually was made into a movie in 1998, and it made less than $5,000.
Oh, so it just didn't come out.
It just didn't. No, apparently it did. Like Universal released it apparently, but like I guess or maybe straight to video or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like the crazy thing to me is like, again, like it's that gap like between doing Home. Like this is what happened to the people that didn't do it, and this is what also happened to the other movie that wasn't Home Alone. But Home Alone was this like massive fucking hit that exceeded everyone's expectations, that, you know, catapulted careers. And again, it was just fascinating to me. Like it was definitely a Keanu Reeves whoa moment as I was a little stoned watching the movie. Because I was just like, I can't believe that movie is that successful, that the other things just like in its wake, what it left is just like,
well, it held the record for like live action domestic comedy for like 20 years or something, right?
Yeah. Until The Hangover Part 2.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Which is a weird way to get overtaken, but it's impressive. Think of all that. Well, think of all the stuff that came out between 1990 and 2011.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff to kind of weather the storm of having made more money then, including the Hangover and like all the prime level Judd Apatow stuff that kind of came out in the early 2000s.
Definitely,
for sure. I also saw that John Hughes gave Chris Columbus National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation first. Did you guys read that too?
I did.
Him and Chevy Chase just didn't really get along, and so Chris Columbus like passed on it and was like, damn it, I'm never gonna work with him now. And then he got Home Alone like 2 weeks later, and you know. Also, dude, I didn't know Chris Farley. This story is kind of sad, but Chris Farley auditioned for the role of the Santa Claus that McAllister speaks to. Outside.
That would have been a wild cameo.
When he
that would have been amazing.
Well, dude, Farley had like a few hours in the city before his audition, and you know, now if he was still alive, it would be funny, but he came in fucking bombed, and they were just like,
man.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take the other side. It's still funny. That's still funny.
I know, dude.
I respect it. I hate what happened to him, but that is funny.
Yeah,
I know. The fact that he came in, dude. Yeah, he went down in the Hancock building, man. My uncle was at work watching him get taken out. Wow. I mean, that, you know, we don't have to get dark about it. Wow. Chicago fucking legend. But can you imagine if Farley was the Santa Claus? That guy, man, I don't know his name, but I recognized him too.
He's in Armageddon. I forget his name too, but he plays Max in Armageddon.
Okay, that's his claim.
I recognize him immediately. That's a crazy story, Vlamis, that your uncle was there. That's like
watched it happen. Yeah, watched him get wheeled out. Insane, man. Yeah, I didn't want to get dark or anything. We're talking Home Alone, Christmas classics.
But there's Chicago. Yeah, I mean, that's
a big local history. Yeah,
that's Chicago, dude. There it is. You know.
Bear, what about you with your Chicago? I mean, obviously, you know, you grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, but at the same time, you still have a lot of love for Chicago. Did you have any pride with Home Alone when you were younger?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I identify as being from Ohio, even though I've lived here for 14 years or so, non-consecutively. So I know that's weird, but I mean, I think as a kid, no matter where you live, you gradually come to realize that the world is bigger than whatever circle you're in. So, you know, you kind of know what's going on in your town or whatever, but even like the next town over, even Vlamis, like where you were in Palos Hills, I didn't know where the fuck that was. I went to high school in Hinsdale, which is probably 20 minutes away.
Hinsdale Central or South?
Central. And that could have been the fucking moon from Stevenson.
Right.
But it's weird as you get older, you realize that's, you know, that perspective is forced on you, and you'd spend probably most of your life trying to open that up. So I don't know. I don't have a ton of pride of this movie in particular, like I do, you know, like Major League for Cleveland. But I did, when I was a sales rep, I used to cover the entire North Shore. So I used to, if I had like my boss or someone in my car with me, I'd take them by 671 Lincoln just to do a little local diligence on. Oh yeah, here's the house from
Good old
Home
Winnetka.
Alone. Yeah, yeah, where it's not even close to like the nicest house up there, but looks identical if you go past it today. So I don't know. I love this movie.
Yeah,
I
I
think
saw
living
that
in
one.
Chicago and then not living in Chicago for like college and after made me appreciate some of the stuff that's in here that's clearly a nod to the area. Like he walks over a bridge as a metro train is driving underneath him. There's a couple people who have great accents.
The accents are,
this
dude, the
movie.
supporting
Excellent.
character accents are unbelievable.
Dropping weird shit like talking about the Kenosha Kickers and how the polka band is very big in Sheboygan. I mean, those are all really, really funny jokes, but I don't know how they hit unless you're you kind of know the area. Like that's amazing if you know the area. Yeah.
If you know the Sheboygan thing was like something you just laughed to your.
Yeah, like it's funny because his delivery's funny, but then when you're like, oh yeah, I know where that is. That's really funny.
Yeah, right.
Well, John Candy apparently was the only actor that John Hughes allowed to improvise during the movie, like and go off script. And they had to shoot his scenes all in one day because that's all he was available for, and he was doing the movie as a favor to Hughes. And so apparently all his dialogue's improvised. And I was gonna say I love the improv about, you know, like she's like, have you ever left your kid at home? And he's like, no. Did leave him in a funeral parlor though. All day. All day. Yeah, he's like, about 6-7 weeks. Yeah, him and the corpse. I was dying. I forgot how funny that was. And then she goes, maybe we shouldn't talk about it. He's like, well, you brought it up, you know.
I can't believe that Catherine O'Hara didn't break. I mean, she's a wonderful actress on her own right, but I don't know how the fuck you don't laugh when John Candy is pulling that stuff at you in real time.
Right. Because she's just as good. That's
she
why.
is. And
she's amazing.
She's very funny, and in this movie she's not. She's the warm heart of the film, and I don't know why, but she reminds me so much of my own mom. Like nothing alike. My mom's not a redhead, but her performance in this movie always makes me think of her. There's also another performance in this movie that's also very close to my family as well. As Carter
we got to talk about this. Yeah. Do you have a picture? I don't know if
I don't have a really good
one.
I have one on my wall that I'll grab, but I don't know that you can see the.
So I'll start with I'll let Bear introduce it more, but those of us that are friends with Bear like to say that his dad is Daniel Stern, and it's like, you know, everyone's like, are they related, or does he like him? And we just go like, no, his dad is Daniel Stern.
I don't think this does it a ton of justice.
That does a pretty good justice.
The nose and the shape,
the hair,
the hook nose. Yeah, this is a picture of him drunk at a meeting that I stole from his office and that I have in my office that I had in here for like 3 years before he noticed. So this is like amazing, funny to me alone, but this is about. He looks even Daniel Stern as he's aged looks weirder. And so does my dad, and they still look identical. They look so much alike that
it's crazy.
I don't know how I separated that as a child. That it wasn't.
Does your dad think the same thing? Does he agree?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So does he get it? Do people go up to him and say, "Mr. Stern"? Has that ever happened?
Typically, my friends do it to him, which he thinks is funny. But I don't know that he's ever been caught in the wild with someone being like, "Hey, I loved your work in City Slickers," or "Thank you for Leviathan."
Here's the question: does he scream like Daniel Stern?
No.
Wow, great scream.
That scream will never not be funny. Every time I watch this movie, it was 80 yard.
80 yard because they used a real tarantula. Yep.
They used a real one, and he said you get one take, so he just went and they 80 yarded it.
Because apparently the tarantulas don't like sound, so if he would have screamed, he would have scared it. The tarantulas are cool. They won't fuck you up.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How did you guys both know that?
I don't know. I just did. Vlamis, it might be just you live in Chicago. You know some of the trivia around.
That's what I mean.
Just instinctively, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. If we're being honest, I definitely looked up some things before this. You know.
That's fine.
It was osmosis. It was beamed into my mind.
Did you guys read about how like they shot half in the house and then like they shot the rest in like the old New Trier High School building?
I read
that.
That's an interesting fact, but I don't find it to be that interesting that they would reconstruct the interior of a house.
No, it's not. It's not like a fascinating thing. It's just cool to learn that because
they shot it in New Trier High School. I didn't know that.
One of the old buildings as they moved
one of the old buildings. Yeah, it's just cool to learn that because so many of those rooms, you know, and the way the Steadicam moves, it just feels like why wouldn't they just go back in there and shoot it? But obviously with movies and certain angles you have to get,
you take out
you
a
have to
wall.
reconstruct things.
They had to build that. I guess they built that treehouse and they leveled it once they
Yeah.
finished production as well.
And then apparently Joe Pesci was more difficult to work with than Macaulay, than the kid. Because everyone says, oh, don't work with kids or animals. But apparently Pesci was difficult for 2 reasons. One, he always swore. Yeah. And they kept having to be like, dude, it's a PG movie. So that's why like that's like him creating.
He's doing the Q-Bert swearing where it's just punctuation.
He's doing like a Looney Tune because he can't swear. So he's just like making up his own language. And he also was really annoyed with the early call times because I guess they had to do it because of the kid. You can't shoot past 10 p.m. with a kid. And he really he preferred to start his days with 9 holes of golf. And apparently he took one of the ADs, one of the assistant directors, like by the shirt collar one day and was like, listen, I'm sick of this. And they moved the call times back to 9 a.m. so he could have golf in the morning.
I agree with him. And I don't play 9 holes of golf every morning, but I have a rule at my job where you are not to schedule a phone call with me before 10 a.m. because I am not a morning person and fuck you.
Hey man, you know
so
what?
I really appreciate that.
We're in our 30s now. It's like
I love that.
Yeah, we're in our 30s now. We have to learn things about ourselves. Like,
dude,
and
De
it's
Niro,
like, you know that
De Niro was the guy they first went to for that.
Yeah,
role?
yeah, and John Lovitz.
Lovitz would be amazing.
Dude.
Lovitz would be really.
Oh God, no way, Pesci.
Yes,
I can't. Pesci.
No,
I can't
Pesci
see
crushed
anyone.
it. Pesci crushed it. But I always think of John Lovitz in Little Nicky, dude. Just outside that window.
Oh, he is funny.
On the branch, man. I just love him.
See, John Lovitz
that opening
to me
scene is funny.
He's the critic, and like that is always what I see him as.
Yeah.
But maybe that's me being an old piece of shit.
Wait, what's that from?
The Critic, the TV show.
I never saw it.
The cartoon. Yeah, there. Yeah. So this is just me.
There's you. You're old.
Good.
Old,
but no, Vlamis, talk about early wake ups. Vlamis, you probably have to, what's your earliest call time? I feel like when I came to visit you, you were at the door at 5 a.m.
Yeah, man. That happened all week last week. All week last week. That's what we did. All week this week, we did fucking like 2 to 2. So it was, I slept in today till 1 o'clock because I was up. I made a steak at 2 a.m. last night. That's when I had my dinner.
I saw your Instagram story and I was like, holy shit. And then it's funny. I logged on my Disney Plus account because I gave you the info to watch it. And I have like a couple people using it. So there are different profiles. And I log on to mine. And then it said, continue watching. And it was like Home Alone, 20 minutes left. And I was like, oh shit. I didn't think about it, but I clicked it. And then I saw where it was. And I was like, I'm interrupting Vlamis's feed.
Oh, did you rewind a little bit? Because it started a little bit previous of where I actually paused it. I was like, oh, Disney Plus is smart, dude. They just like, in case you missed the last couple beats, they're gonna rewind for you.
Maybe that's what it was, but I feel like I did rewind it. No way. But that's fucking crazy.
That's so.
But then I went over to another one and just watched it that way.
Oh yeah, man.
But yeah, I saw that you made a steak in the pan.
Steak in the pan, dude.
Yeah,
that's good.
Love it.
Like you're in prison with the Goodfellas.
It's just so easy, dude.
I actually smoked
little butter, and then I seasoned the shit out of the steak with this Texas seasoning, and I put tahini, which tahini
is good.
They put on like fruit or margaritas, whatever. I put that on the steak too, and it's like my new favorite
good
thing.
Stuff. I smoked a tri-tip last night, and we and then I seared it with some butter and rosemary.
Turned out
in a cast iron. Yeah, it was really good. We made some tri-tip sandwiches.
What did you do for Thanksgiving?
Smoked a brisket.
And that turned out?
Oh, dude, the brisket was like, I was shocked by how good it turned out.
I sent you pictures.
I sent you pictures. I sent Bear pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
I was shocked because we had this. Zoe got me a brisket for my birthday. Back in August. She also got me the smoker that I have been using, and which just reminded me I need to clean that later. I did terrible things in that smoker, terrible things. But no, I had this. So we had this brisket in the freezer for months, and it was like this thing that was constantly intimidating me, like smoke me. And I was terrified I was gonna fuck it up because I've never smoked a brisket. I've only ever eaten it because it's funny. I don't want to sound conceited and be like it was easy because it wasn't, but at the same time, it was a lot less intimidating than I thought it was gonna be. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is temperature regulation because on our place's rooftop, it can get very windy and that can fuck with the temperature of your smoker. They can like cause the temperature to drop a lot faster. So that's the biggest thing I was worried about, because you have to maintain a steady temperature for several hours with a brisket. We were also lucky that it was a 5-pound brisket instead of a normal 10 to 12-pound brisket, because you have to keep that fire going for like 9 to 10 hours. This one we only had to keep going for like 5 before we took it off, and then because then you have to let it rest for an hour.
Dude, you're a pro already, man. You made it you smoked one brisket.
I'm not a pro, not even close, but I definitely love doing it.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Bear, he's a pro.
He's been doing it. Yeah, he's been impressing me with his dedication to the craft.
It's pretty good.
Hey, speaking of food, is Nero's Pizza? That sounded familiar.
Little Nero's. I don't recognize it at all. I think it's a joke because Nero famously was an emperor of Rome who burned it down because he was crazy. So I think that's a deep antiquity reference for those of us who are bringing a little history.
Damn.
Home Alone joke. That makes sense.
By the way, here's a question I have. The trip to Paris. Do you remember when Catherine O'Hara was talking to Joe Pesci and she said, "Oh, my husband's brother is in it got transferred to Paris. His kids still go here. So he's treating us all to this trip for Paris for what's it called? For the holiday, for Christmas." Is his brother someone that we don't see off camera, or
never see him?
Okay, that's what I thought.
He owns the home in New York as well. So the brother is actually better well off than John Hurd's character.
Got it. That's what I thought, because for a split second I was like, wait, is his brother Frank, and Frank's treating him to this trip, but he's so cheap? Like
I think I get the feeling that Frank is a brother-in-law, but I forget what the brother's name is. I know he's married to Aunt Georgette. Uncle Rob, Aunt Georgette, because he yells it through the mail slot in part 2.
Yeah. And in this one, he says, Rob, they say something to him because he's decorating the tree. I think we see him like hit the back of his head.
Interesting.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's just alluded to, but yeah, that guy is rolling in it.
Yeah. I was so like miffed though, because I was like, wait a minute, is he like, is this the same brother who's like not paying for anything, and he's like all of a sudden giving them this like amazing trip to Paris?
Yeah, I think it's John Hurd's sister's married to Uncle Frank.
Yeah, I just figured he was gone because they asked the one girl, are your parents home and are they here? And she says, yes, they're home. No, they're not here. And I was like, okay, then we're missing people.
Yeah.
Where are they?
I had a huge, maybe this is just 2020 coloring my reading of the film, but this movie is virulently anti-police, which I really respect. And my highest thought on this rewatch was that Joe Pesci is not impersonating a policeman in the first scene. Joe Pesci is a cop.
Like he's like being like he
is a cop. His side hustle is he robs houses. I always assumed that he was impersonating a policeman. That is never confirmed. He, from what is presented, is a cop.
Oh, you're saying within the story.
He is a cop.
He is a cop, but he's just fucking he's a bad cop.
And he's a little too familiar with the cops arresting him at the end. I think he's a policeman. They also call the cops in Chicago, they call Lieutenant Balzac, and obviously they get the runaround. That one cop shows up, does a piss poor job. No one's here. Let's forget about it or whatever.
Yeah, and he doesn't even announce himself at the door.
No, he doesn't identify himself.
No knock. No. You got to announce.
Yeah, he knocks, but he doesn't say shit.
Yeah, you got to knock. You got to announce.
This is an anti-cop film, which I love. And I don't know why. I mean, maybe I'm just thinking about shit, just given the state of the world. But there's no point in the movie where they specifically say, oh, good thing Joe Pesci dressed up like a cop. No, he's just a policeman. And he's just doing awful things on the side, which, as we know, is true of every policeman. So I really appreciate it. So that was the weirdest revelation I've had. I watched this movie a lot. This has been one I revisit quite a bit. The last time I saw it was, I think, 2 years ago, and around Christmas time. They did a screening of it at the Music Box, which was awesome. So I got to see it on the big screen for the first time ever.
Was it on film?
Yeah, I believe it was. They played this and Die Hard back to back as a dual feature. So the Music Box, as soon as we get through this fucking virus, it's my first stop. But this movie is very, very familiar to me. I love it. I've always loved it. I also think every single criticism levied at it is completely correct. I agree with everything. This is an unbelievably uneven movie that, and I think we've talked about this on the show. I hate Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's worthless.
This movie, when I check now, had a score of, I think, 65%. It used to be lower. It used to be like 55.
Wow.
This movie got creamed on release. And I think all of the points that it was criticized for are valid.
Yeah.
And I think for such a huge hit, that's almost unheard of now. 30 years after the fact, the kind of criticism that Home Alone was getting
what was the biggest
glossed
critique?
over.
What were the critiques? Yeah.
Incredibly uneven. A simple premise stretched super, super thin. Cartoon violence with no explanation in the third act, and an abrupt shift of tone for it as well. Unrealistic, as far as the stuff he does. Almost everyone praised Macaulay Culkin and Catherine O'Hara. Some critics went after Macaulay Culkin as an actor, like his presence is better than his delivery and acting, which I think.
What the fuck does that even mean?
I think that means that you respond to how he looks and how he inhabits the being of that kid more than his delivery. Sometimes his delivery is a little odd. Sometimes his eye line is a little off from where the actor he's acting against is, which may be that he's looking to his coach on set or whatever. That is
I see. Yeah.
Wild nitpicking that I very much am a big supporter of. I love that kind of weird criticism. You don't see that shit that much anymore. I just think that ultimately it doesn't really matter. This movie is a lot of fun.
Exactly.
If you don't like it, I could see why maybe if that kind of stuff really bothers you, maybe you wouldn't like it. I mean, I know there's alternate readings of this movie where people ascribe more psychopathy to Kevin's character than maybe there is on there, because he's essentially a criminal mastermind who has no remorse putting adults through incredible physical pain. Again, I think that's awesome. And I don't have a problem with it. And the only other character he really bonds with is the guy who is allegedly a serial killer, which is confirmed in the film because he does then use his shovel as a weapon. So even that isn't ever, like, the guy tells him, like, hey, don't believe everything you hear. Then he shows up unannounced in a house he doesn't own and whacks two people with a shovel.
Yeah.
So I'm not convinced he's not the serial killer. They're just buddies now. Yeah. Which is so
funny because you're so many of these things I definitely thought, right? Like I definitely thought at the beginning, I was like, people talk about Macaulay Culkin so much in this movie that looking back, I would have been like, oh, this is the best kid actor ever. But no, man, a lot of his reads are just straight up like saying the lines,
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Thing. Like, a movie is so good when that shit doesn't matter.
It doesn't fucking matter.
I agree. I don't have a problem with any of those points brought up. And I think it's interesting to read the contemporary reviews that go after that stuff harder. Now this is an accepted classic. Nothing that was dated before like the year 2000 that I could found said anything negative about it. But I almost wish that those kind of old school look down your nose critics were still reviewing shit, because I feel like most big budget smashes like this kind of get a free pass now. And I do think it's worthwhile to have a couple stinkers in the mix pointing out some stuff like, okay, this didn't really work. It's not really that realistic, but the kid could set up 1,000 traps in a couple hours, including drawing up a very specific map showing you where they'd all go.
Dude, I think about that all the time in comedy specifically. As a comedy writer, Andrew, people are like, this is like unbelievable. Dude, okay. It's a fucking movie.
Well, I agree.
Sometimes you just want to watch the fucking movie. And it doesn't need to be the most realistic thing ever.
I agree. And this is a single, this is like a one joke movie. There's a single joke in this movie that is driven into and beyond the ground. And I really love that when it's done right. And it's not really something that you see that often anymore either. Like the kid is home alone. They say the phrase home alone in the movie. I love a movie that says the title of the movie right in the middle of it. Amazing. He does a bunch of shit that is what you do if you were home alone. You'd have to grocery shop, you'd have to shower, you'd want to like use your dad's aftershave.
And the premise even came from John Hughes being like, what if I left one of my kids? Like that was his premise.
I love that it goes, okay, what if someone tried to break into your house, and then keeps going with that idea of, where you'd have to defend your house given the stuff in your house, which is like paint cans, a fucking iron, all this ridiculous shit.
I'm much
I love
more.
it. I love taking that one premise all the way through to its conclusion.
Yeah, and I'm much.
This movie reminds me a lot more of Dumb and Dumber than any other movie because it is that. It is the title of the movie all the way through. It's
Right,
not something
and I was gonna
like
say,
Funny People that's going to take forever and go on some weird tangent. It's like this kid's home alone.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah, and as much as I like the movie Funny People too, it's like I appreciate how this movie. Like I appreciate sometimes, maybe not all the time, but sometimes I appreciate cleverness over plausibility. And I feel like this is a great example of that. Like this movie is very clever in terms of like the Rube Goldberg type setups that he has. Like it's
where
not
do you get the mannequins?
right. Exactly.
Who
Like,
cares?
Who gives a shit? Like it doesn't fucking. It's just like for all and I think the reason why it's like somewhat plausible. It's like this family is they're such a big family. It's like you don't know what's in their attic. You know, like anything could be up there. And like
It's a massive house.
There's even other things where it's like, you know, like the scene where Catherine O'Hara is like begging that old couple at the airport, right? One thing that I thought of was like when they eventually switch with her and they're like, okay, fine. I just thought like, wait a minute, what about if they checked bags? Like what happens then? You know, like wait a minute, like what? But then it's like that you have that thought for like maybe a fleeting minute, and then there's a then Macaulay's walking home with the groceries, and they both rip at the same time, and that's
which is
really
the best.
fucking good
The best effect shot in the film. That's
oh my god! I want to know how the fuck they did that. That was such good timing. It's amazing.
Dude, I was wondering, like, when they were calling all the families on the street, I was like, not one family's home to go check on the kid. And then they break into one of the other houses, and it's like, everyone's gone for Christmas. It's like,
and it's established early on because Pesci has scoped every house and is going over it with Marv saying, this entire block, no one's here. And that's why they're able to commit the robberies in broad
fucking
daylight.
bunch of privileged people they are.
I know, dude.
All get to go away.
It is, dude. I mean, like, I thought that too. I would never, even 3 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that of just like how privileged the movie is, how white the movie is, all these things, but like, it's a fucking great movie, dude. It's a great movie.
I'm not knocking it for that. I'm just simply stating like what a, that's a nice block to live on if you get to, if all you get to go away for Christmas. Yeah, exactly.
Clearly fuck like rabbits. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that kid that they mistake for Kevin. Gee, kid, I don't know, hit the road. Yeah, that guy is so distressed in the moment. But
that's a perfect Chicago Teamster too.
Yeah,
just driving a van, hating life.
Yeah, Vlamis, with you and your acting, like when you were a kid, did you like take after Macaulay Culkin at all? Were you ever like kind of like into like I want to be like that? Did you watch this movie and think that, or was it more like I just want to do it?
Yeah, dude, I've actually thought about that in like recent years. Cause I remember like McConaughey's Oscar speech where he was like, "My hero is me in 10 years," and every year, when he won for Dallas Buyers Club. Yeah, and I was like, "Damn, that is some crazy shit." But I really started thinking about it, and it's like, I never had a hero from an acting perspective. My heroes were just like my parents, and wanted to, I don't know, be like them in certain ways. In other ways, I should never be like them. But in certain ways, I wanted to be like them. But no, dude, I don't know if that's like a stubbornness or a pride, or if it's like, but I never found that one person that I know a lot of people have found a lot of success on emulating other people. I've always been kind of the one of just like, do it the way that I want to do it. I won't be in my head that way. I'll just do it. Well, I'll probably fail, but I'll try again, but yeah, back then, I mean, I started shooting movies in like third grade with a buddy brought a camera over. His older brother had a camera. He was like, want to make a movie? I was like, okay. And we made this movie called Land of the Turtles. I played like 8 different characters, and it was like the coolest experience ever. And from there, it was less of like watching kid actors and more of just like, what are we shooting this weekend? What are we making this weekend? Every weekend we shot something different. So it was kind of like just learning from my friends and what we were making versus studying what these other kid actors were doing, because it was just for fun. It was never like I could be Macaulay Culkin. I went to business school, like I was never going to be Macaulay Culkin as a kid.
Well, you have to have your parents kind of force you into that life, and then try to take all your money, and then you have to emancipate yourself from them if you really go the full Culkin route.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, dude. I heard about that.
Well, what's funny that you mentioned like doing things your own way. Like I feel like in a weird way, that's kind of a theme of this movie. is how he's like, this is my house, I have to defend it, and he just makes all this shit. Like, it's pretty, like, you know, he's using his ingenuity and like his you know, cleverness to like make this shit happen. I feel like most people, when they like would want to defend their house, like they would just like call the cops or whatever and like be okay that way. But like, he's like, no, I'm gonna like build this shit. And it's funny, man, like you as an actor, Michael, it's like you've built your shit your own way too. It's like you know, like even getting Roswell, like you did the audition in your own way, and like, you know, you even got the audition in your own way, you know. Right. Like it wasn't a typical process where it's like, oh, he got called in and now it's this. You had to even fight to get the audition, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I found out about the audition through my acting teacher at the time. She had coached somebody on it, and she was like, you'd be good for it. My reps tried to get me an audition. Casting was like, this kid only does comedy. He's not right for a dramatic show like this. Wow. And then, yeah, after like a week of trying, my manager was like, dude, they're not going to see you. I'm sorry. I can't get you in. Just put yourself on tape. Here are the audition scenes that they've been doing. Put yourself on tape. We'll send it in, see what happens. And we sent it in. And then finally I got an audition the next morning, showed up like so hungover because I was like out fucking like, wow. I was out, bro, celebrating another movie. For the first time in my life, I wasn't living my life for the casting directors or for the job. I was living my life for me, dude. And I got that call like 9:30, and I answered the phone with my manager. I said, what's up, you handsome motherfucker? And he goes, are you drunk right now? I go, I'm about to be. He goes, put the booze down. They want to see you. They love the tape. And I go, what? Wow. And he's like, yeah, because I was fucking broke, dude. I had nothing. And he was like, yeah, I want to see you in the morning, like 10:30, whatever it was. And I was like, all right. I stayed out till 4, went to Mel's Diner, got a bunch of cheese fries, left my car at the bar I was at, Ubered home. My roommate was also, I was driving Uber at the time. My roommate was also driving Uber. I requested him in the Uber app, so he got paid on the way.
Wait, which roommate?
Spencer Waldner.
Nice.
Shout out. Yeah. Shout out Walds.
And shout out to all Vlamis's goons.
Yeah, if you need a mask, go to Love Wald's Instagram. You can get a mask. Anyway.
Yeah, he makes good masks, huh?
Yeah, dude. No. So the kid took me there. But yes, dude, like what you were saying, long story short is I've never had success unless I've just done it wholeheartedly my way. And I've failed a lot of times doing it that way. But that's where I've also had my most success.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It works differently for everybody else. But that's what Kevin McAllister does, man. He does it his way. The whole movie, you're like, why isn't he calling the cops yet? And then at the end of the movie, you're like, oh, he was just having fun, you know? Yeah, and his line, like, don't get scared now, you know, like this is it.
He breaks the fourth wall out of nowhere, which he never does again, which I really like. It's almost like we're not supposed to be watching this shit. Like he doesn't care if we're there or not.
I also love it when he's under the bed and he moves the boxes and he's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I love wisecracking kids. He's just smart, but you know, anyways, yeah, I mean, obviously the verdict for this is still good, you know, still great. Amazing. But like, and it's like, that's the thing. Some people might see this episode and be like, why are you even, of course it's still good. Why are you even talking about it? But part of it is, number one, you know, it didn't get great reviews, and like that deserves to be acknowledged, and how, like, you know, and as Bear said, the irony is that those criticisms are all valid.
They're valid. They're super valid.
But it just doesn't matter because the thing is just so much damn fun. Yeah. And then the other part of it is how we just wrapped up about, like, you know, what the movie says in a weird way about like just doing things your way. And Vlamis is, you know, I can't think of a better person to talk about that than you in terms of like what you've accomplished. So
the movie gets a lot of mileage out of having really good performances. It gets a huge lift from John Williams, and everything else is fine. It is kind of a comedy. It's absolutely a horror film. At least for the last half
terrifying.
Of it.
And then when they meet him up at the fucking when he comes into the kitchen and they're like, I'm gonna bite off your fingers. That's really sinister.
Actually, he accidentally bit one of his fingers in one of the takes.
Yeah, Macaulay still has the scar. Yeah.
I would love to get bitten by Joe Pesci. That'd be better than anything. So I think it's an interesting movie. I mean, there's a lot of shit in here. It's been, you know, it's still relevant as a Christmas movie, certainly, even though it's super of its time. Like, this is another movie where a cell phone kind of ruins the whole premise. But it
doesn't feel dated. It does not.
It's able to exist in the world of 1990.
Like, I noticed when he says, what is he going to call the cops from a tree house?
Exactly.
And like for a
Right.
split second, you're like, oh, I guess you could if you had a phone, but like it doesn't, but
He
the
doesn't have
thing
one.
keeps moving. It doesn't. Yeah.
There's lots of great floral patterned furniture, hideous wallpaper, ridiculous sconces on the inside of that house. That is,
Oh, yeah.
I have been in that exact house as someone who grew up in the 90s 1,000 times.
100%.
It probably was like, you know, just a contemporary house. It is now like a fucking museum of the early 90s. So there's a period piece element to it that I think keeps it actually always relevant.
Yeah.
It's great.
I love it.
The violence is amazingly over the top. There's a couple swears. Dano Stern has a really good shit that apparently was on accident when he loses his shoe.
Yeah.
There's no way this movie gets a PG rating in any other year. This is
I was thinking about that, dude. Yeah.
No
is it a
way.
No,
PG
no
rating?
way.
it's rated PG.
It's a
What
hard,
about Home Alone
it's a
2
hard
in
PG.
92? Home Alone 2 got a PG as well.
I think,
Yeah, it did.
I think you're right. In Home Alone 2,
Yeah.
if you watch Home Alone 2, and again, we're going to do another episode on Home Alone 2,
Yeah,
spoilers. But
It's even more violent.
there's a lot that gets cut out just on TV from Home Alone 2 because some of that violence is hardcore. And I'm all about it. It's awesome.
Amazing.
Totally awesome.
So as we wrap up here, Vlamis, is there anything you'd like to plug? Let people know what you're doing. Let people know what you're up to. You got a lot going on.
Yeah. I would love to. So we're wrapping, or we're in the middle of shooting season 3 for our show, Roswell, New Mexico. The first 2 seasons are on Netflix right now. If anyone wants to binge them and catch up, season 3 might come out mid-January. All depends on scheduling. A lot of TV shows are getting paused.
When do you wrap shooting? January?
No, dude, we don't. No, it's gonna air if it airs, then it'll be while we're shooting. We don't wrap till end of April.
Oh wow, you're there for a while. Holy shit.
Yeah, here for a while. And then in the meantime, my first produced feature film that I also star in called 5 Years Apart. That came out this year, so that's on iTunes, Amazon.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's really good.
Voodoo, whatever the fuck Voodoo is. You name it, it's on there. You can find it 5 Years Apart.
Tell me more about that. Who directed that? What's that movie about?
My roommate, another Chicago guy, went to well, he didn't go to Bennett, but he's from like Lyons Township area. But yeah, Joe Manconi. It's about 2 brothers, estranged brothers, born on the same day, 5 years apart, who also haven't seen each other in 5 years since they fought at the family Christmas party. And then like a wild weekend brings them back together.
Good.
And
it's really good.
Dude,
yeah.
Yeah, it's been really well reviewed and well received. It came out in August. It was. I mean, we made it on a shoestring budget, first movie I produced. And, dude, I'm really proud of it. Another Chicago actress is in it, Chloe Bennett, who I actually met at a football game when I was 15 in high school. She stars opposite me, which is crazy. She ended up doing the film.
And the great Australian Craig Lowe, who was in our short film Accents. He's he's hilarious in it.
Yeah, so
I saw him in that and was like, I need to work with him. That's what it was.
Yeah, so we had 2 Chicago actors. We had a Chicago director. We had another Milwaukee writer. We have an Ohio DP, maybe Indiana DP. Like it's all Midwest,
But you shot it here in LA, right?
Yeah, we shot in LA, 13-day shoot.
Wow.
But yeah, man, dude, I'm so happy. I'm gearing up to hopefully direct my first feature in June, and
nice, man.
Just going for it, man. Hustling merch. We got new merch on the way.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you're one of the hardest workers I know, man. So
hey, dude, you too, man.
Keep it up. Thanks for coming, man. We loved having you.
Thanks for having us.
That's what I was about to say.
I know.
Thanks for having us, sir. God bless you, sir.
Thanks, King.
Yeah, thanks,
no,
King.
dude, this was so fun. I'd love to have an excuse to watch Home Alone again. I learned so much on this as well. This is awesome. I want to be the next guest.
Yeah, we'll have you back. We'll have you back to discuss whatever, but we definitely should have you back to talk about the old Roswell. That'd be fun.
That'd be fun, and John Hughes stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. I mean, John Hughes just as a whole, yeah. He inspires me, man. I heard he wrote Home Alone in 2 weeks.
He did.
That's wild. Yeah.
And the last 40 pages were like 8 hours straight.
Man, what, dude? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's
like I don't believe it. That's nuts.
Yeah, some people are just like that good, like not only that good, but that driven, and that like they have blinders on, and it's like this.
He just had it's such a moment where he was peaking so fucking hard. And it's nearly unmatched. He had a wonderful stretch from the 80s into the early 90s. Just great.
Yeah, he those movies they're seminal. I mean, They defined our fucking childhoods. I'll never forget watching The Breakfast Club for the first time. I'll never forget it. Freshman year of high school. Just that movie really affected me.
100%.
It's great.
Yeah, whatever you guys want, you guys let me know. I'm coming back. I had
Hell yeah. We'll do it. Thanks, guys. And check us out at Still Good Show on Instagram, stillgoodshow@gmail.com. If you want to send us an email, give us a topic to discuss, you can find us on our website, stillgoodshow.com. And please remember to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. Again, you can say terrible things about Bear and I as long as you give us 5 stars. You can say wonderful things about Vlamis because he was a wonderful guest. Thank you, sir. Thank you, King. We will see you next time for Home Alone 2 in our Christmas movies and Christmas cocktails series. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.